Today, we're going to be breaking down some wide receiver drills based on actual routes. So we're going to be showing some specific drills and then tying it into an example of Calvin Ridley running a route and how these drills can ultimately translate to a real route running situation. So I hope this gives you guys some value. Hope you like this new style of video that we are trying. So this first drill is going to be something called a high knee hip drop. So we're going to kind of walk through the drill, talk about the reason why behind the drill, and then show a pro example to kind of like compare and contrast the two. Okay, so this high knee drop drill, you need a partner for this drill, or you could set up a line of cones. If you're going to do this with cones, I recommend setting the cones up. You want two specific cones, or you want to start cone, then cone 1, and then cone 2, and each cone is going to be about 5 yards apart, and you're going to start the break as soon as you get to the cones, and you'll know what I mean by that in a second. If you have a partner with you, you don't need cones, and your partner is going to give you a drop call. So when he says drop, you are going to react and drop your hips on this specific drill. And we're going to talk about, again, why that's important in a second. So this drill, it's a high knee hip drop drill. It's exactly how it sounds. You're going to come off. You're going to be doing high knees, trying to go as fast as we can. And then when your partner says drop, we are going to drop into the hip drop position that I ultimately want to get to at the top of the break. Then your partner's going to say go again. You pop up high knees again. And then at the last possible second, or not the last second, but when he says drop, we are ultimately dropping my hips into my break. So if we were to do this with cones, you would drop like this at that first cone and then at that second cone. So those are the cones that are 5 yards apart. So let's talk about what this works on. So the reason why I have guys do this from a high knee position is because whenever you're running routes, it's all about frequency leading into the break. So let's say, for example, I'm running like a comeback route, right? And let's say this is a 15-yard comeback. From the start point all the way up till the break point for 15 yards, I want the frequency of 3 specific things to stay the same so I can sell vertical. I think everybody knows that. Every receiver knows that from the start point to the end point, we want to make the defender think we're running a fade. So that it's not about running, balls to the wall as fast as I possibly can. You want the same frequency. From the start of the break, I want the same speed all the way to the break point. Doesn't mean to be I'm going 100%, but it shouldn't be like 80% either. It's like 95% speed. I want the same body language going into the break. I don't want to be raising my chest right before I cut because that tells the DB changing your speed before you cut, raising your chest, tells the DB you're breaking. Then last but not least, I want the same stride frequency to the break point because nothing's worse than taking off for 12 yards. And then when you get to 12, you start taking these choppy steps to prepare for the break. And then that DB knows you're running a route. So we have to get comfortable dropping my hips from a full stride position. And that's what this high knee drill works on, because when you're doing high knees, you're trying to get your knees up, right? And so when your partner says drop or when you approach a cone, you have to be able to drop from this specific position. Now, when we drop, you guys, you want to be as violent as possible. You want to think you are trying to drive your hips into your feet. You just want to sit into your feet, if that makes sense. And you want to try to hold a 90-degree angle with your base. Your chest should be slightly leaning forward because that is trying to replicate the exact position I want to get to at the top of the break. It's just more of a full stride type of deal. So I'm going to play this again full speed one more time. So it's high knees. Your partner says drop. We drop. Pop back up again. And it's 2 reps per set, you guys. So I do this with my receivers for 3 sets, and we go 2 reps per set. That's what we have them do. So now we're going to get into a pro example that will tie in to this specific drill. But before we do that, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you would like to train with us this offseason, we are going to be traveling out to 15 different cities across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So guys, if you're interested in working with us, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you out to one of our off-season camps shown on the screen right here. We're going to be coming out to San Francisco, Orlando, Phoenix, Charlotte, Austin, Las Vegas, Seattle, Chicago, Newark, Birmingham, Houston, Boston, Columbus, Boise, and Los Angeles. So guys, all of these camps will sell out probably within the next 2 to 3 months, you guys. Every single camp last year sold out, and we had to turn away a lot of people. So guys, if you want some more information, want to learn how you could sign up for one of these camps on the screen, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd absolutely love to have you out to one of our camps. Let's get to this pro example now. So now let's look at this example here from Calvin Ridley, right? So this is a perfect example of stride frequency going into a break, right? And that is the whole purpose of that very first drill, which is the high knee drop drill, right? So there's another drill that we're going to go over too as well, you guys, but we're going to show that after we show this pro example because I want you guys to understand this first. But I know this is a route on air, but guys, you're going to practice how you play, obviously, right? And they're trying to rep out good habits. So when he goes into this break point, I want you to pay attention to his strides. He comes off the ball, long stride. long stride, long stride. The strides, nothing changes about the stride. He's able to drop right in stride. That high knee drill helps us accomplish this. Because, I do a lot of like route running breakdowns on this channel. We talk a lot about routes and, I talk about, okay, you're going to run full stride, you're going to run full speed, you're going to have good body language. I say all those things, but, you got to do drills to work on it. And you have to have drills that translate to the actual game, the actual route that you are running. And that high knee drill is a great one to get you comfortable just dropping right in stride. You're in a high knee position, got to drop. And that's how it should ultimately be on a route. Because those strides going into the break is ultimately what sells it. Now, obviously, you guys, not everything can be done from a high knee like speed, because you eventually have to run and you got to get comfortable being able to drop your hips while you're running. You obviously don't want to break stride, but you also don't want to break your speed, and you also don't want to break your body language. You want to have the same, those three things got to stay the same. So that's what this next drill ultimately works on. So I call this our our 2 cone hip drop drill. So you're going to start out, you're going to be about 5 yards, you're going to be about like 7 to 8 yards away from this first cone. Second cone is going to be about 5 yards away from the first cone. So your start point is about 8 yards away from the first. Second cone is about 5 yards away. And all we are going to do, you guys, we are going to take off and attack the cone. As soon as we get to the cone, we're going to do a quick hip drop level change. You were trying to bring your chest to your quads. We were trying to sit in that 90-degree position. Then you're going to reaccelerate and do the exact same drop at the second cone. All this is working on is getting used to us changing my pad level, dropping my hips. Now, I shouldn't say change the pad level. This is trying to get me used to dropping my weight and dropping my hips while I'm from a full speed run position. Because, guys, you eventually have to train full speed. I hate the receiver coaches that set up the million different cones. They have guys doing all this footwork around it, and that's all they do. Guys, you have to run routes, and you have to work drills that are realistic to routes to get better at actual routes. So that's why we do this drill always after the high knee drill. Do the high knee drill first, and then we do this after. So we burst up to the first cone, and at the cone, hip drop. Second cone, hip drop. Then we reaccelerate. And at each cone, you guys, we're not trying to spend a ton of time at this cone. We are trying to drop, be on the ball of my foot, and then right as we drop, we reaccelerate to the next one. And from cone to cone, we have to be fast. We got to be running with long strides. We got to have good body language. Everything about it has to look like a fade, because if you could train like that, that's how it turns into an actual route, like habit in a game. So I do this with my receivers. We work probably about like 5 or 6 sets of this specific 2-cone drill. After the second cone, I usually stand in front of them and I'll just throw them a pass. So if you have a quarterback, you could do that as well. But guys, when it comes to our hip drop stuff, we could work all types of drills like the high knee drills for mechanics, for getting us used to cutting in full stride. It's a controlled setting, but you eventually have to do it off of a full speed run for it to translate to a full speed route.